I'm Lou Dawson, wildsnow.com. I'm here today to just show how to use Dynafit bindings, kind of get into the basics. A lot of people contact us on the website and they're always wondering how you get in and out of the binding efficiently and how you adjust the release and that sort of thing. So today what we'll do is we'll just go over how to get in and out of a Dynafit binding, how to change it from touring mode to alpine and back to touring, and that sort of thing. Alright, so let's assume we've just skied down from something, made our beautiful perfect powder turns and that sort of thing, and we're going to get out of the binding and we're going to switch over to climbing up the hill. The first thing you want to do with Dynafits when you're done with a ski run is find yourself a fairly stable platform. Get your ski pole tip in what we call the touring latch and simply push down on the touring latch of the binding and rotate your foot slightly and your heel will lift up out of what we call the heel pins. Another way of getting out of the binding, if you happen to be in a little bit of unstable situation, or you're tired, or you have a heavy pack and you want to just keep your ski poles out there, is to simply come over like this and step on the touring latch with the other ski. Lifting the foot slightly, rotating, and out it comes. You can come over and you can step on the other touring latch with the foot, and out you come. Another fun method to play around with getting out of the binding is just reaching down and pull it off like that. Hang on to your ski poles while you're doing this sort of work, because sometimes a ski or a boot will drop into the snow and you can lose your balance, and having the poles in your hands makes it a lot easier. To get into the binding, it has to be opened for your foot to go in. Generally, if you've just been skiing and you've exited the binding, it is going to be open. But again, the way it opens is by pushing down on what we call the touring latch. So I'm going to push down and that opens these wings up, and that's ready for the entry of the boot. Now if you're going to go into touring mode, you don't really want the binding heel to be ready for alpine, because you'll get in there, you'll step down, and suddenly your heel will be latched down and you'll have to start all over again. What we recommend is that you squeeze the brake closed with your hand like this, and then you rotate the binding like that when you're getting ready to tour. The ski and binding are now ready to enter for touring mode. I've got the binding heel and the binding heel unit ready for my heel flat on ski, and then the toes open. The simplest and most common way of getting into the binding is to take your boot and put one pin in one of the holes and then rotate it. And generally that will trigger the binding and it will close on your boot. The other method that people master that's a little more advanced is simply lining up the boot using your eye and your memorization of where the sockets are, and possibly some marks on the boot. Some people even put some Sharpie marks right above the sockets, and then just simply stepping down and actually practically using the binding as a step-in binding. This method works a lot better when you're using the Dynafit boots that have a lead-in notch for the socket, but it's also possible with the older style sockets that do not have the lead-in notch. The other method people use is if the heel unit is adjusted correctly in terms of the fore and aft position, it's purposefully indexed so that when you set your heel against the binding with your foot tilted up, it causes the toe sockets to line up and you can step in. Depending on the exact adjustment of the binding, the shape of your boot, how much snow is on your boot, that method can either be very elegant or very frustrating. So that's the three methods of getting into the Dynafit binding. First, your basic rotation of the toe from left to right or right to left. The second method, which would be simply eyeballing the alignment of the sockets in the boot with the pins and then stepping down, possibly using marks on your boot. That second method works better when you have the Dynafit lead-in notches on the toe fittings, which Dynafit calls their quick step-in feature. And then the third method is where you index the position of your boot by placing the heel of the boot against the binding first and then stepping in. It does require practice. What we recommend is that instead of doing this while you're out for your first exciting tour with Dynafit bindings, that you get these things down on the carpet in your living room at home. When you're going to actually tour on a Dynafit, probably the most important thing is to remember to lock the binding. And it's easier to demonstrate that than explain it. It simply means after you've entered the binding with any of the methods we've been going over, you're going to pull up on this touring latch. So to do that, you're in there and you just pull up on that latch. And now you're locked in the binding and you can tour and you won't come out very easily. One nice way of doing it that people seem to like is you get into both skis and then you just reach down with your ski pole, stick it under like that, and flip them both up at the same time. It's extremely important to remember this detail. Of course, if you don't remember and you're a fairly strong, aggressive uphill skier, you'll just walk right out of the binding, so it kind of reminds you. We're trying to eliminate all those little niggling details that can cause frustration or delay the day. One of the other important things to know about Dynafit bindings is how to change the heel elevator position while you're climbing. The basic part of this is that you look for whatever angle feels comfortable in terms of using your ski pole. The other part that's important is you don't want to jam your ski pole way down into the heel post. You generally try to use just the tip of the pole so that it's easy to get out and doesn't get jammed in there. I'm going to place my pole and just the tip so I can use it, and then I'm going to go from, this is heel flat on the ski mode as if I was touring on flat terrain, and then to go to the medium height lift, I just gently rotate over like that with my ski pole. So there's kind of two options. You see there's this hole in the side and then there's a hole in the top. To get up to the high height, it doesn't really work that well to stay in the top because you rotate it in and it doesn't go all the way. So what I generally do is I move my ski backwards a little bit so I can look behind me and then quickly pop it over into the heel raised mode. The thing to remember about the Dynafit heel is that it's symmetrical. Both heels are the same. So if you find that you can rotate one heel easily with say your right hand and your right hand ski pole, generally it's going to mean the other one's going to be able to do the same thing. One of the most important things is to not insert your pole all the way in where it might jam and be difficult to get out after the angle changes. Another very important thing is that if you feel resistance while you're turning the binding, you've got a 3 to 4 foot lever arm in a ski pole. And you can break the binding very easily if you're using a strong aluminum ski pole and you start yarding on the binding like a maniac trying to rotate it over, because something will have to give. You're either going to break the tip off your ski pole or you'll break the binding. So if you feel a lot of resistance, it means there's snow packed in there or you haven't quite moved your heel out of the way or something like that. It should move right over. There shouldn't be a big struggle. So I've got some low angle terrain, so I'm going to rotate both my bindings to heel flat on the ski mode. Off I go.